Hi everybody, this is Luck God. I've got a product review here for you today. These are MDF measuring sticks. They are made by JB MDF Wargames. I found them on eBay, but he also has a Facebook page that you can buy them on. That will all be linked in the description at the end. They are extremely cheap. I think they only cost me, I'll just double check. They were £2. Yeah, so they're £2 and 10 pence, and that includes postage. So very, very cheap. But are they worth using? Well, this is how they came. They came in a padded envelope. Some of them were still attached to each other. In fact, there you go. Look, some of them still are attached to each other. This is pretty common for MDF that's been laser cut. It's not an issue at all. They break apart very easily, and you can use a hobby knife. You can see just there, that's the side that it would have been face down. That's the side that the laser would have been cutting from. So they snap apart pretty easy. But I would recommend personally using a knife, just to make sure you don't end up with it tearing into the underside. Alrighty. So I've gotten MDF, laser cut MDF before. It does come with a bit of a smell to it. Some people actually quite like the smell. I'm not a fan, but it does fade in time. One way to really help it fade is to paint the MDF. I quite like painting things like these. I think they look better when they're painted. It does take MDF does take paint quite well, but just be aware that it can soak up the paint a little bit, so you tend to have to use more paint than if you're painting, say, the flat side of a miniature, say a Space Marine Rhino or something. This will absorb a bit of the paint, so there is that to take into consideration. See, there you go. You got some feathering because I decided to tear that one. I will just shave that off later. It's not that big a deal. So I already have a set of measuring sticks that are made by a different company. I am not going to name them right now because this is a review for this product, not a review for the other product. I have done a review for that is on my blog. But these are what we're looking at today. So one of the first things and the most important things about measuring sticks is, are they the right size? So I'm just going to quickly stick them all in size order, and we will see where we go from there. So these measuring sticks go from 12 inches all the way down to 1, and from the way they were laid out, they actually give you two 6-inch ones, which is pretty handy because 6 inch is quite a common measuring amount that you have to measure in wargames. So I've got my trusty steel ruler, and I'm just going to pick one at random, we'll say 8 inches, and give it a measure, see if they're the right size. Now, if you can see this, they come up at just like a millimetre short, or maybe half a millimetre short. It's very, very close though. I'm guessing that's due to the process where they cut through with the laser. This is a 5-inch one. Actually, I'll overlay it on the top this time. And again, if you can see just there, it just quite doesn't reach that line for the 5-inch just there. But it is only out by like half a millimetre. And with most wargaming things, I think it's slightly better to be slightly too short than too long, because if you were measuring a distance, say a charge or a gunshot, and you were over your range, that seems more of an exploit than being under. This 9-inch one is a little bit better than the 5-inch one was, but again, it's just a tiny fraction too small. Very, very, very small difference though. And just to compare, I'll put it up against one of my acrylic ones that I have, and so I'll put my finger on the end to keep them the same distance, and you can see that the acrylic one is just so slightly longer by just like a fraction. It's very, very slight, the difference though. So it's not too bad, especially considering the price. So just to double confirm, because my ruler might be out, I also have a tape measure. I'm not going to be measuring from the end, because with this little nubbin on the end, it's always a bit irregular. So I'll be measuring from the 10-inch line, because that seems a bit safer. So I've got the 6-inch one here, and don't know if you can see that very well. But again, it is just slightly out from the 6-inch line, which is just here. So it's just like a, yeah, it's literally 1 millimeter, or half a millimeter in some cases. And although that's a little bit disappointing for a price of £2 including postage, I'd say they're pretty damn good. I will be giving these away because I already have a set that I've already painted for my army that match the colour schemes. But I will put the seller's shop and Facebook page in the description, so you can link to them and buy them if you want, or buy any of his other products. I think he sells quite a lot of different MDF stuff. And I'd say that if you are on a budget and you are trying to have some accurate measuring sticks, you could go far worse than these. I've seen some really expensive measuring sticks out there that I would not recommend, because they are far too expensive for a length of material, essentially. Not sure how useful the 1 and 2-inch ones are. In fact, I'd probably go as far as to say I wouldn't use these personally, because they just seem like a bit of a faff. 3 inches seems pretty good, because that's a common charge range in War Machine. But 1 and 2 inches, I think they just get lost. I'd personally leave them at home, bin them. I wouldn't use them. But all the rest, really nice and good to have. Good to have a double of the 6 inches, because it's a very common one to be used, and I can imagine a lot of the time, because a lot of units movements is 6 inches, so you might be reaching for the table in your mess of all your clutter of tokens and things. Being able to have an extra one to search for is pretty handy. So another thing that I noticed on the product description, but I didn't opt in for myself, is the seller states that you can have your club name or your own name etched into the measuring sticks above the size of 4 inches. I didn't go in for this myself, but because I planned on giving these away from the beginning, but I figured I'd contact him to ask for a little bit more details, because I wasn't sure if it would be like a kind of it ups the price kind of deal. He got back to me very, very quickly and let me know that there is no additional charge. And I also asked him fonts, and he said pretty much nearly any font is available. So you can have your club's name or your own name or anything you want really written on them. He did say that it would add a slight delay to dispatch, because he has to add that to the design in the software for the laser printer. So allow perhaps an extra 24 hours to dispatch. So I thought that was quite a nice added touch that you can have put to them. I may order some more of these in the future to give away at tournaments, with perhaps the name of the tournament or the name of the club that the tournament's been held at etched on them. We'll see. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you do want to order a set of these, the link to them will be in the description below. And thanks for watching, and goodbye.